to call the meeting now to order Tuesday, February 6, 2024 at 4 p.m. and turn it over to Karen to have Gladwin also call the meeting to order.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Moore. I'm the board chair of Malek County. We have Gladwin board here. Gladwin wishes to call the meeting to order.
Turn it off.
We're working on that.
Also slow down to the time.
Okay, so the meeting has been called to order. Everybody heard that now?
What? Yeah.
We're working on getting a little bit more volume for you before we continue the meeting. Is that much better? Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. So the meeting's been called to order by both Midland and Gladwin County now, and I will turn it over to Ann at this point.
Okay, we do have a commissioner who will be appearing via remote means. So pursuant to Midland County's adoption of the statutory procedures outlined in MCL 15.263 and 15263A, in regards to remote attendance at meetings for a voting member of a public body, Commissioner Dorian shall be attending this meeting via remote means. We're going to go ahead and do roll call. Commissioner Snyder?
Here.
Commissioner Glazer?
Here.
Terwilliger?
Here.
Geisler?
Here.
Dorian?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Chairman Bone?
Here.
Midland County has 7 commissioners present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this point, I would ask Commissioner Terwilliger to lead us in the pledge.
Gladwin County will now call attendance. Commissioner Bisnow.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Here.
Commissioner Grove.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Gladwin County has 5. We have a quorum.
Commissioner Terwilliger.
Please stand as you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is the volume better on this mic? All right. At this point, Gladwin I will need a motion on behalf of Gladwin to approve the special agenda and to set aside any board rules that are inconsistent with the agenda and the meeting. Does any commissioner wish to make that motion?
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Bismarck, seconded by Commissioner Taylor, to approve the special agenda and to set aside the board rules that are inconsistent with this agenda and the meeting. Any additional conversation?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that the order of the agenda be amended to move public comment to item C and new business to item D.
We have a motion already pending for Gladwin. I'd ask that Midland hold that and it can be addressed. But at this point, Gladwin needs to approve the agenda. So any additional conversation? Hearing none, Gladwin, I call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0, motion carries. Midland, may continue.
Okay, go ahead one more time, Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that the order of the agenda be amended to move public comment to item C and new business to item D.
Counselor, I need some input on that.
I believe that motion was already taken up on the board this morning and for reconsideration. Person to fail to decide.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any commissioner in Midland that would like to make what they voted this morning, that would like to support and make that motion for Elena since she came to Commissioner Smith? Seeing none, we will move forward.
We need to have these people come up with
So at this point, we're going to go into the presentation portion of the meeting. And I think the first presentation is going to be by the Four Lakes Task Force. Joe Planey, which is the civil council.
Good afternoon, councils or Board of Commissioners for Midland and Platte County. For those that don't know me, my name is Joe Planey. I'm General Counsel for the Four Lakes Task Force. I've been asked to come up and explain the purpose of today's Board of Commissioners meeting. The purpose of today's joint County Board of Commissioners meeting is to consider adopting resolutions approving the computations of costs and the special assessment goals and the financing plan for the Four Lakes project. Before you, you should have two resolutions. The first resolution is approving the computation of costs for both the 25 through 29 operation and maintenance, and the computation of costs for the capital improvements, and then the respective assessment goals for each one of those computations of costs. The second resolution seeks to approve the plan of financing and the full faith and credit of the counties for the issuance of bonds not to exceed $80 million. Purpose of Part 307. The purpose of Part 307 is to provide for the control and maintenance of inland lake levels for the benefit and welfare of the public. Part 307 authorizes counties to make policy decisions as to the levels of their inland lakes and to build and finance dams as necessary to maintain the desired lake levels. The process begins with the counties petitioning the Circuit Court to hold a hearing to determine the lake level and establish lake level special assessment district. But the Four Lakes, in 2018, both counties adopted resolutions to initiate legal action to establish the legal levels and establish the Four Lakes Special Assessment District. The Four Lakes Special Assessment District is a special purpose public body with an established boundary of waterfront properties along or near Four Lakes and backlot properties with dedicated private easement access. The intent was for the properties within the Special Assessment District to share the financial responsibility in connection with the acquisition, operation, maintenance, repairs, and improvements to the dams, and to ensure that they meet the state of Michigan's dam safety standards in accordance with Part 315, or dam safety. The lake level special assessment process to return the Four Lakes to the normal lake levels is not a tax. Rather, it is a specific levy to recover the costs of the improvement that confers or preserves benefits, relieves burdens, or creates a special adaptability upon the land, not the person, within the Four Lakes Special Assessment District. It is not the present use of the property that determines the benefits it receives from the improvements, but its available use, including a use that may be rendered more feasible, by carrying out the project in connection with the assessment that is levied. A lake level special assessment is not based on the tax assessment of a particular property or whether the landowner chooses to use the benefit. Rather, the special assessment is based on an approved computation of cost and a portion to each property based on the benefits derived for that property. Before a special assessment can be imposed, the county's delegated authority is required to prepare a computation of cost of the project. The special assessments are necessary in order to defray the costs set forth in the computation of costs. Initially, it is the role of the delegated authority, in this case the Four Lakes Task Force, to prepare the computation of costs and apportion those costs and prepare the assessment goals. In addition, the delegated authority is responsible for providing notice of all property owners, public entities of the hearing to consider objections to proposed project costs and the assessment roll before presenting the project costs to the County Board of Commissioners. Special assessments cannot be imposed without undertaking the procedures in Part 307. On January 15th, the Four Lakes Task Force held a public hearing, a special assessment hearing, to allow property owners to present objections to the assessment rolls that were presented. The assessment roll has been transmitted to you as revised based on the comments received at that hearing. The assessment rolls, as I indicated, are one, an operation and maintenance assessment roll, and secondly, the assessment roll related to the capital improvements for the project. What this meeting is not about is revisiting the lake levels, or two, who is in or out of the special assessment district. Those decisions were addressed by the Midland Circuit Court in May of 2019. And to revisit the court order requires legal action in the circuit court. Right now, as I have no further comments, but I am here to answer questions of the Board of Commissioners in connection with both the roles and the process under Part 307.
Any questions from the Midland Board of Commissioners? For Joe?
How about from the people? Why don't you ask us some questions?
Questions from the people.
Questions from the people would be nice.
Gladwin,
We are going to have public comment. And
Well, we'd like to talk to him. He's the attorney. Why can't we talk to him? Is there a reason? Is there a reason he won't talk to us? You guys are only on the board for the board. We are the people of this community. You should come over here and talk. And you should listen to all of us. We all have something to say before Dave starts his, we'll talk in his 700 people that only showed up at, which more people did, which was a lie. Why don't you have your attorney stand up and talk to
Hey,
him?
public comment is coming following.
I know, but he's not gonna talk to us.
I will have you removed. Sit down. Dave, could you take it away, please?
You waiting for undivided attention, Dave?
Take it away when you're ready, Dave.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Bowman, and thanks for the commissioners of Gladwin and Midland County review this with us today. I'm Dave Kepler, President and Chair of the Four Lakes Task Force. Kayla Stryker, the Four Lakes Task Treasurer, will provide you with a computational of cost reviews a little bit later and the financing plan. Ron Hansen, the Four Lakes Task Force owner engineer, will provide you the updates of our assessment role, changes that occurred from the special hearing and that occurred on January 15th. As Joe pointed out, the counties and Four Lakes have a joint commitment to restore these lakes.
County.
And we are here requesting approval of resolutions that ensure the financing of the construction of the dams currently underway to continue. Over the past 5 years, there have been many significant decisions together by Four Lakes and these boards. And for good order, I want to review those 5 years because they reflect the issues that matter at hand here today. In early 2028, after years of non-compliance, including inadequate spillways, the Federal Energy Commission, or FERC, proposed revoking the Midland Dam license and did so in September 2018. FERC had reported during that time that all the dams had compliance issues, and Secord Dam also had a spillway capacity issue, compliance issue as well. During up to and through the last 10 years, there's been no private company to step forward to acquire these dams, given their issues and limited time left on the FERC licenses. In response to FERC's actions, through 2018 and 2019, the Lake Association is working with the counties through the Part 307 process with special resolutions, many public meetings, and finally a court order in May of 2019. The legal lake levels were established, along with the 4 Lake Special Assessment District. Midland and Gladwin counties entered into a joint agreement with the Lakes Task Force as their delegated authority. The 4 Lakes Task Force entered into an agreement with Voice Hydro on December 31st, 2019, to have the counties acquire the dams through the 4 Lakes Task Force over a 2-year period without a legal lake level special assessment district in place. Without those 2 actions of having a legal lake level and a special assessment district, honestly, there would have been no future for these lakes at that time in 2019 and 2020, and there'd be no future now. In 2020, less than a year before the agreement was scheduled to be closed, the Mill Dam and Sanford Dam failed, and the Secord and Smallwood lakes were ordered down by FERC. The counties recognized the need to protect the properties around the lake to address the environmental and property damages and reaffirm their commitment to the legal lake levels, and agreed to have the 4 Lakes Task Force continue its delegated authority role and to lead with the coordination between state and federal authorities for the recovery needed within the special assessment district. Over $60 million was spent from 2020 through 2023 on moist property acquisitions, the protection of properties from massive erosion issues, the stabilization of the dams from further failures, environmental cleanup. In addition, during this time, plans for the restoration of the dams started, which included flood design engineering, risk analysis, permitting environmental assessment. All pre-construction recovery work was accomplished using state of Michigan funds, federal grants, and private donations. There were no funds from the Special Assessment District required. During this time, we completed a feasibility study and restoration study, obtained a $200 million grant from the state, and gained an agreement in principle with Eagle to proceed with the repair and the restoration of the dams. It's hard to imagine what level of legal, regulatory, public safety, and financial decay exists today around these lakes without a clear decision by these boards to move forward in 2020. On July 12, 2022, in a joint session, the Gladwin and Midland County boards approved the 2022-2024 operations and maintenance assessment. Also, a project cost of $250 million based on engineering estimates to restore the legal lakes was approved with a range of $230 million to $275 million. Prior to the bidding of the projects, this allowed us to use state funds to move ahead with the restoration. So where are we now in the restoration project? The current restoration project estimates for the 4 dams are approximately $364 million, which includes construction, financing costs, and capitalized interest, with the contingencies of approximately $35 million, or about 9.5% of the project costs. The total is $398 million and $900,000 approximately. Caleb reviewed this detail. It was submitted to you and published online several months ago. This is a huge increase. And how did we get there?
Why? Where's a $12,000 soundproof booth bid in?
The non-residential construction market has been in an inflationary environment that has not exceeded 5% for over 30 years prior to 1922. 22 saw a surge in price for construction with the federal policy environment changes like the Infrastructure Investment Acts, the Job Acts, Inflation Reduction Act, and the CHIPS Act, each provided direct funding and tax incentive for public and private construction. The inflation during a 2.5-year period was a 40% increase. Very few companies in the country were willing to bid on our projects. Despite our efforts with value negotiations, when we got to the price of the Secord and Smallwood project, refusing bids at Sanford and restructuring the project to smaller bid packages, while we provided some mitigation, we were unable to mitigate all this market inflation. And as the owner's representative on the project, we know these increases are disappointing, and we understand the impact on our communities. $80 million of state and Michigan funds and additional 1.2 approximately in other grants and sources will reduce the total amount to be financed to $217 million, $217,700,000. This number is $137 million over the high range estimate estimated in 2020.
A little bit. I'll make you trust it.
So, why are we now confident that these numbers are right? And how do we not exceed these goals again? All 4 dams are contracted for. All 4 dams have received bids. All 4 dams are under construction. But we have some issues we still need to work through. The construction costs are basically committed to. So we have a strong team of owner representatives that will solve some areas. We have the key issues we need to continue to manage through, or some permitting left. With the 40+ Eagle permits we've completed, there are 2 remaining. One, while Eagle is seen our permit as administratively complete on Bill, because of the size, it still needs EPA review, which we expect to finish in March. They have an obligation to do that by the end of March. And we also need to receive the muscle tank permit later this year for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Well, that's not the thing. It's starting on the bill. If we certainly don't get it, we would have an issue filling the plan. We also have about $10 million of mitigation projects we need to complete to satisfy the EPA permits prior to Lakeville. These are built into the cost numbers we provided, just provided. And certainly we need to keep the financing in our construction. So yes, we believe our contingency will likely be adequate in the funding we are asking for you to approve, should not be exceeded. So the outcome of the public meeting, and Ron will go into details of what we changed, 707 people, 703 from the district or from outside, protested the assessment. Out of 6,640 property owners in the special assessment district. Ron will review the process and analysis of the special assessment period. I think approximately less than 400 people attended over the period of the 7 hours we were open, with 131
Let's have some order, please. Okay, if you don't have order, I'm going to ask to have you removed. This is not a public comment time right now. No public comment will have returned for public comment.
Since December, when we published the rolls, Spicer's made over 1,400 updates to the properties in the assessment rolls. Ron will go through that and it's in your books as we go forward. The methodology is robust, it differentiates the property with the benefits, with the lake, with lakes paying more than 20 times, so the highest benefit, the highest assessed property, residential property, is more than 20 times the parcel paying the lowest amount. So we feel we have diversity in the program. About 10% of property, the capital assessment of the front lots, a typical front lot assessment would be about $33,000. Most of the back lots really range from $3,000 to $11,000. About 10% of properties with large lake fronts will have over $40,000 in capital assessment placed on them. We expect that it's likely that 10% of property owners of the lake assessment will pay up front. it's kind of a normal expectation. These are,
What about commercial?
What does Dow give?
these are principal amounts, the amount of partial loan paid, so they choose to prepay their assessment. Most likely, most will pay the annual payment with the capital and operational assessment maintenance. Most back lots would be between $216 and $720 per year. A typical front lot would be about $2,200 per year. But there is a range of front lots from the low end of about $1,400, $1,440, to as much as $3,000 per year, maybe a little lower for the very top lots. Some people multiply the annual number times 40 to show the burden. In reality, the capital assessment is the principal that's leaving on the property. And the property owner can find that out on our website. Others have divided the number by 12 to show monthly impact. Our belief is the reality is these numbers will be starting in the winter 2025 assessment. Each property owner will have their own view of these numbers. We believe they have been transparent in providing these numbers at an individual property level. Out of the hearing, we've identified three critical issues here from the community that wanted to be addressed. One was ensuring that everyone who uses the lake contributes to the assessment. Two is to find ways to reduce costs and receiving more grants. Three was the affordability of the assessment for people challenged to take on more cost, especially seniors living on fixed income. The methodology assessment addresses direct benefits of non-residential owners. So when we look at non-residential share of the assessment, the project is 40% funded by the state of Michigan grants, and there are large assessments paid by the counties for the operations and maintenance. The assessment methodology also addresses the direct benefit of non-resident users of the lake by assessing lake lots that provide access to use of non-lake residents. They pay the bigger assessment amount. Lake parcels of big parcels that provide access to the lake for non-residents, including DNR launches, marinas, and public parks. For example, the Midland Park. They're paying about $6.5 million of the assessment, which is about 50% total capital assessment. We do plan to seek and obtain new grants. The first capital assessment will not occur until the winter 2025. We have time to adjust that in the first grant. Forelights is in the process of submitting 2 grants now worth a combined total of $10 million. Forelights continues to review all additional grant opportunities and apply whenever there are eligible opportunities. We also plan to begin a new campaign. We raised almost $5 million this last round, and we plan to do another round of private donations. We will also work hard to come in lower than these numbers than we forecast that we have to be the highest. I think to be realistic, though, that effort would be 10 to 20% reduction in the cost. We can do that. What we need to do is advocate for more funds from the federal government, state government. More likely to continue to work with the lake associations to allocate the critical funding which the community needs to move forward. Big grants do not come through grant writing. They come through political advocacy, and I really believe that we got lake associations behind us to push that. How does Four Lakes plan to address low-income housing residents, homestead residents? We recognize that there are seniors who live in this community on and off the lakes today that are already challenged to financially stay in their homes. Four Lakes, not at all as a delegated authority, but as a concerned nonprofit, is currently engaged with community leaders to set up a low-income assistance fund for assessment relief and plans to have this in place prior to 2025 first capital assessment. Also, Representative Mike Hoadley and Representative Bill Schuette enrolled House Bills 5419, 5420 to amend the Act of Act 225 of 1976. This act permitted the deferral of retirees of limited income to defer their special assessments until they sold their home and passed away. In 2020, that act was grandfathered, and so it still existed for people that moved forward, but there was no more new enrollments. This act would open that enrollment again to support people. We certainly support the House bills, but there's still work to do, but I think it shows the intention of the community. I believe that there's a desire in most of the community to restore the lakes, and almost everyone wants to see us find other funds to help offset the cost assessments. And while we have communicated the issues of rising costs, $100 million are hard to comprehend until you see your portion. And so, I mean, it's been challenging to be communicating these numbers, but it's when you get down to the property owner, you see your bill that kind of hits you. And it's a personal choice for every homeowner on how they will respond to these assessments. What choices and alternatives we have right now, today, especially for the county. Because the county, I know, will look at this in the context of what is good for the long-term sustainability of our communities, and how can we protect those vulnerable that are in financial need. The core of the issue, I think, that's frustrating is a simple fact, and that fact is an underfinanced private owner was given a federal license to profit from the use of a natural resource. And both the owner and the system failed to protect the community or the natural resources of these four lakes. And we, the community, have to deal with the cleanup of that issue. This was a big company that properly financed. The federal government had thought through how to deal with this issue and actually applied the leverage it had. We would not have been in this case. And I get the fact why people are bothered and pissed off and don't feel they should pay anything. But I would also say there's a fact here that there's 60,640 property owners on these lakes with $1 billion in assets and a project in front of them to restore the lakes. These property owners have a right to have a lake through both deed and the court orders that was laid out by Joe in his discussion earlier. And the reality is, like it or not, there's no federal agency that will take the lead to build these lakes. The only path to restore lakes in Michigan is through Part 307 of the Natural Resource Environmental Protection Act. That fact hasn't gone away, and that puts the responsibility of the public lake, of the repair and maintenance or restoration, on the responsibility of the county. And they have the special assessment district as a tool to finance that. So I want to be clear that where we are today, or like the Part 307 clearly states, after the court determines the normal lake level of an inland lake in a proceeding initiated by the county, the delegated authority of the county or counties in which the inland lake is fully located shall provide for and maintain that normal lake level. Not our option, may not do it, could do it, we shall. And so we have to find a path to that. What are the options for a county if it doesn't vote on the project? Financing. First of all, there's no viable option to restore the lakes without a county approval to move forward. The $200 million state grant was a grant to the Four Lakes Task Force for the Four Lakes Special Assessment District. The Special Assessment District needs to be in place to match the remaining costs and fund and restore the dams. That state money is for the restoration of the lakes. It goes to offset the burden of the lakes. If you decide not to, go forward with the lakes, that money is not available for other things related to the special assessment district. There is no do-nothing option. There is no do-nothing option. The dams that exist today, by notice to the county, are high hazard dams, and they would need to be upgraded or removed, and the associated environmental impact addressed. SAD financing is for lake restoration. The SAD cannot finance a dam removal or the investment or maintenance of the lake out of these dams that will need maintenance. The SAD cannot finance dam removal or the investment or maintenance of dams. They do not bring back or restore the lake. The burden would go to the counties, the structure of program, to find a new funding source, a legal structure, some any deal with establishing a new path forward. While not contemplated in the contract, we would work with the county that doesn't want to proceed and determine how we can transition the program to the other county. If both counties determine they don't want to finance, the project will stop. Discussion of next steps will need to occur in the next few days because we don't have the funding available to move forward on any other option. If Midland wants to stop, if that one wants to continue, we'll work on figuring out how to restore those counties' lakes. If Midland doesn't want to restore Sanford, we'll figure it out the other way. If both, we've got a big challenge. If both of you don't mind. The path to restore the lake dams is technically sound and underway. Considerable progress was made in the last 4 years. All 4 dams are under construction. We recognize the concern given the increased costs that come in after the bidding compared with the engineering estimates. Honestly, there's no plan B that has 4 lakes returning than what is being proposed. There never has been an alternative of lakes with no special assessment or special assessment district. The county's position has always been, through contract and resolution, that financing could occur to the special assessment district and the 4 Lakes Task Force would work to lower the burden of that assessment through grants and donations. Today, we have obtained over $250 million of grants and donations. The counties have an obligation to allow us to move forward, restore these lakes, and find a way to lower the burden on the community through advocacy. It's critical not to jeopardize the project so that the community can move forward, approve assessment roles, and we need your good faith and credit to do so. With a future-proof financial plan, there's a platform to seek more funding from outside county, from outside of the counties. In other words, if the counties don't want to do this, there's no opportunity to get funding. You have to get admitted. If we would have sat here in 2020 and just said, hey, I hope the government comes and helps us, that strategy has never worked. We have to be committed to going forward and demonstrate that we're committed to do this and find ways to advocate and get more funds. With that, I'll pause. Ron and Kayla can come up later, but I'll see if there's any questions on my thing. I'll also come up at the very end just to make sure we have any other things that we need to close.
Is there any questions from any of the commissioners for David?
But there's no relief for the house that's got flooded, like that order.
Seeing none, I will move on and let Ron and Kayla take over. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Not one. He wouldn't give shit. Should be a relief fund for the people that got wiped out.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So first I'm going to cover the operations and maintenance computation of costs. And for the board, if you look in your packets, there's a tab labeled Operation and Maintenance Computation of Cost memo. For the public, when you came in on the table, we had computations of cost sitting out.
Kayla,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds like some people are having a hard time in the background. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is this better? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Is it okay? When you came in, there were computations of cost available for you to pick up. One side is the capital computation of cost, the other side is the operations and maintenance computation of cost. On the bottom of this computation of cost, there's a QR code you can scan that will take you to our website and it'll take you to the full memo write-ups on the computation of cost. What you received when you came in is just a simplified summary, but I'm going to reference the full write-up several times, so I really encourage you to scan that QR code and get to the full write-up. So to get into the computation of cost, this is the 2025 to 2029 operations and maintenance computation of cost. And as you may recall, in 2022, you all approved the 2022 through 2024 operations and maintenance computation of cost. This computation of cost and this operations and maintenance assessment will not change. The 2022 to 2024 operations and maintenance assessment you already approved. On winter 2024 tax bills, that operations and maintenance assessment will still be there. This will begin on winter 2025 tax bills, and it'll go from 2025 through 2029. When we get to 2029, FLTF would then see the new O&M assessment. We've been clear about that, that it's going to be an ongoing cost through the duration of the lakes once they're restored. So to get into the computation of cost, the first line item on here, and specifically for the commissioners and for people that have pulled up the full computation of cost on your phones, I'm referencing page 4, labeled Appendix A. It has a more detailed breakout of the lines. So the first thing I want to talk about is administration. The total for 5 years is $1.21 million, and in that we have labor for financial and administrative services. We have legal costs for our general counsel and legal defense, communications for managing our website, news flashes and mailings, insurance, bank services, supplies, on-call accounting services, and the annual audit. And again, that 5-year total is $1.2 million. I know some of you would like more detail on that. Again, I would encourage you to go to the website where you can get more detail. And then for the commissioners, you can see it broke out for each line that I just referenced. For operations and maintenance, under operations and maintenance, the 5-year total is $6.68 million. We have labor in there for our 3 operators and their supervisor, insurance for utilities at each dam site, telecommunications, vehicles for our operators to travel between the dam sites, supplies necessary to complete the operations and maintenance activities, contract labor, an example of contract labor, specialized services that our operators can't necessarily perform. De-icing is a good example of this, a labor that we contract out. Equipment rental, and then finally consulting services. Consulting services is on there, responsible for operations oversight and setup, as well as once we have the dams restored, they're going to be responsible for compliance with Part 315. There's also likely going to be some environmental reporting requirements in Part 301, and our operations team will be responsible for ensuring compliance with our regulatory agencies, and then we will rely on consultants to assist us to make sure those reports are up to the standard that they need to be. The next line item is the establishment of the Special Assessment District, which has a 5-year total of $150,000. That includes costs like preparation of the assessment roll, surveying, hearings, cost of levying the assessments, roll maintenance, estimated cost of mailing, publishing notices. It's essentially all of the costs associated with implementing and maintaining the Special Assessment District. Then we have a $25,000 line item for the estimated cost of appeals on the 2025 to 2029 operations and maintenance assessment, which brings us to the gross sum of expenses at $8.07 million for 5 years. The next line item is the contingency, which is at 10% for $806,000. Part 307 allows for a contingency of up to 15%, but looking at our budget, we felt we could manage within 10, so we are only charging 10% on a contingency, which brings us to the total sum of $8.876 million. And for those of you looking at your sheet, you'll see the spend that we anticipate in 2025 is not necessarily equal to the spend we anticipate in 2029. It will vary year to year. But you'll see the next line under there, that amount is normalized year to year for the assessment district. So the amount that will be charged to the assessment district in 2025 is the same amount that will be charged in 2029. So homeowners that live in the district will not pay a different amount from year to year. It will remain consistent from 2025 to 2029. And a final note, just for context for you all, the normalized annual assessment sum is $1.775 million. Our previous normalized annual assessment amount for the 2022 to 2024 assessment was $1.564 million. So this represents about a $200,000 increase, and what that means on a per parcel basis is about a 10% increase. So for a frame of reference, if previously the payment was $200, now it would be $220. I'll go down to the capital computation of cost for the commissioners if you want to go in your packet to the tab, capital computation of cost. And then specifically, I will be referencing page 4 in that packet. And then again, for the public, same thing here. I really encourage you to scan the QR code at the bottom of the page. There's a lot more detail available on the website than just on that printout. So to get into the capital computation of cost, this is the computation of cost that was approved by the Four Lakes Task Force Board on January 15th, 2024. This was posted on our website on December 22nd, 2023. It was updated on February 1st to account for the parcel changes stemming from the public hearing. And the first line item on here is the establishment of the Special Assessment District. So for the establishment of the Special Assessment District, this includes things like design engineering, land acquisition, permitting, and as Dave mentioned, there was no assessment to the Special Assessment District for any of those activities. Those activities are allowable to be assessed under Part 307. The Four Lakes Task Force was able to acquire state and private donations that allowed for all of those activities to be completed without any assessment to the district. So you do see a $0 number there next to the establishment of the Special Assessment District and those associated activities. But if you want more information on that and what those costs were leading up to the restoration computation of costs, that is available on page 10 of this document, which has a summary of all of the pre-construction spending. The next item on here is the preparation of the assessment roll and levying assessments for the capital roll, which is estimated at $50,000. The next two items are construction administration and estimated cost of construction. For the purpose of this computation of cost, those would need to be separated, but for the purpose of Four Lakes Task Force communications in general, we have tended to group those together, and those are the numbers that people are most familiar with for the total project costs at each lake. So I will just cite those numbers quickly for you all. At Seaport, the estimated construction total is $67 million. At Smallwood, the estimated total is $50 million. At Edenville, the estimated total is $142 million. And at Sanford, it's $90 million. There's an additional line item on there for all lakes. Those are services that aren't particularly associated to one lake. So an example would be site safety, electrical services, consumer CFA, dam safety booms. Those span across the 4 lakes, and the total for that is $7.2 million. The next line item on there is the estimated cost of appeal for managing the appeals to the capital assessment roll, and that is estimated at $100,000. Then the cost of mailing, publishing notices, and administration is estimated at $9,500. The next line item on there is 6A, loan and bond issuance costs. I won't read every single one of those on there. You can see them itemized for people that are interested. Those are the costs associated with financing, with acquiring our loan, and acquiring our bond. The final item is the cost of capitalized interest. As Dave mentioned, we will not begin assessments until winter of 2025, but we will go out for bond issuance in June of 2024. So we will be capitalizing interest, and that's the line item, the $6 million line item you see there. The total gross sum of expenses is $364.2 million. Then we have contingency of 9.5% at $34.5 million. Which brings us to the total project computation of cost at $398.8 million. Then we have offsets to that total project cost. The first thing being less the state of Michigan grant. You'll notice that's minus $180 million. I think there's a little bit of confusion on that sometimes, because a lot of people recall Four Lakes Task Force received a $200 million grant, and here we're saying minus $180 million. So if you turn to page 10 of the packet, you can see the reconciliation of how those funds were spent on those pre-construction activities that I referenced that the district did not have to be assessed for. Then we also have a USDA Bloom grant and an MDOT settlement that further takes off an additional $1.175 million, bringing us to the total amount to be assessed of $217.7 million. The last thing I'd like to cover is a brief update on our plan of financing. In your packets, in the same capital computation of cost memo that I was just referencing, and for the public as well on the website, if you scan the QR code, on page 18, there's a detailed write-up of the variables impacting the plan of financing and the FLTF path forward. The FLTF plan of financing has constraints surrounding permitting, timing, restricted funding sources at the state and federal level, and based on all of these variables, FLTF is actively working through the path forward to avoid cost increases or delays at any project is for FLTF to proceed with an $80 million bond to be issued by June 1st, 2024 to fund the Sanford, Seaport, and Smallwood project through 2024. This frees up sufficient state of Michigan funding to allow Edenville to continue to be funded through state of Michigan funds until there's certainty on the permit, as there may be an issue with using financed funds for a project that does not have that take permit that Dave referenced established. And there's more detail, if you're confused about any of that or want more detail, there's more detail on that issue specifically on page 18 of that memo. The $80 million bond will be financed through the Four Lakes Task Force Special Assessment District, and as has been mentioned, you all will be asked to vote on a resolution later in the meeting requesting the full faith and credit of the counties to support the bond issuance. Without the full faith and credit, FLTF will not be able to issue bonds at favorable rates for the Four Lakes Special Assessment District. If you note, the total project amount that needs to be financed is $217.7 million from the computation of costs that I just reviewed. But in June of 2024, we are only seeking an $80 million bond. The remaining $137.7 million will need to be financed by the end of 2024/early 2025. We're currently waiting on a final determination from the U.S. Army Corps on if we will be eligible for a U.S. Army Corps SWIFT BEAD Corps Water Infrastructure Financing Program loan. We anticipate to have that by the end of 2024. Should we receive word from the U.S. Army Corps that we are eligible for that loan, we will utilize that loan to fund the remainder of the project, that remaining up to $137.7 million. If we are not determined eligible, then we're going to have to do another loan issuance to fund the remainder of the project. That's everything that I have. Over to Ron, who said Spicer.
Any questions? Look for Kayla or everybody? Thank you. Ron?
Good afternoon, board. My name is Ron Hanson. I'm a professional engineer, professional surveyor. I've been representing the Four Lakes Task Force as the owner's engineer since 2018. I'm here this evening to talk about the special assessment methodology and the special assessment role. So in the handouts that you've received, there is a tab within your packet that talks about the special assessment methodology. There's also a letter that is a summary of all of the adjustments that have occurred to the special assessment role as a result of the latest special assessment hearing that we went through. And also you have a copy of a capital improvement project, special assessment role, and an operations and maintenance special assessment role. So there's a lot of stuff there. I'm gonna give an overview of the information, and then if anybody has any detailed questions, they can ask me. The first thing I'd like to start off with is to say a special assessment role must equal 100%. So if a property is adjusted down, that means another property has to be adjusted up. At the end of the day, the total equals 100%. I would also say that the complexity of a special assessment role is proportional to the amount being assessed. So if this were a simple drain maintenance assessment for a couple $1,000s, the role may be much simpler, but seeing how this is a large and complex project, it's a large role, and it's a very complex role, and the sensitivities of the role have been adjusted over a period of time as the cost of the projects has continued to increase. So, as Dave mentioned, the circuit court set the boundaries of the district in 2019, and as the delegated authority of the county, the job of the Four Lakes Task Force is to apportion the project cost within those boundaries based on benefit to the property. The Four Lakes Task Force can't change the boundary, the board can't change the boundary is set by the circuit court. The Four Lakes Task Force job was to establish the role. So what the Four Lakes Task Force did after the dam failure is they set up a special assessment role advisory group. This group contained legal experts, assessing experts, members of the community, and people that have experience with developing and implementing special assessment roles. This group recommended a special assessment methodology. The group understood that not every parcel in the district received the same benefit. For example, a front lot receives more benefit than a back lot. A lot with larger frontage receives more benefit than a lot with smaller frontage. Some lots cannot be developed. Some lots give high access and high volume, like commercial lots or DNR lots. So a range of benefit factors was established based on the benefits derived and the outcome of that community. Those factors then, back in 2002, were shared with the community on the Four Lakes Task Force website. They were shared with the community during Four Lakes Task Force webinars. The Four Lakes Task Force conducted preliminary days of review where hundreds of property owners came in to personally review the methodology, to review their property, and to provide input. And the Four Lakes Task Force listened. They made hundreds of adjustments to the special assessment role. Then they conducted a special assessment hearing, and ultimately, in June of 2022, that role was approved by the County Board of Commissioners. So after that role was approved, engineering and permitting were near complete, the project was bid, and the construction costs came in higher. With the construction costs coming in higher, the Four Lakes Task Force began to work on the current roles, assessment roles that you have in front of you, the capital improvement role and the operation and maintenance role. And adjustments were made again, because as the project became more expensive, the sensitivity of the role and the complexity of the role increased. We again held webinars. We again held preliminary days of review. We held a special assessment hearing. We heard from hundreds, if not thousands of people. We had 700 objections to the special assessment role, primarily, I think, because the costs went up so much. But after hearing all of that,
adjustments were made. And so I would say a couple of key points that are worth touching base on the adjustments. Number one is the backlots. So there was a floor, or I would say a minimum, and we needed to make that adjustment on the backlots. And so the floor or the minimum for the backlots was adjusted, and you gotta get the number here. 582 backlots were adjusted down. That was based largely on an access factor. Some backlots have improved access, some backlots have access that's less improved. So after the special assessment hearing, over 500 backlots were adjusted down. The absolute lowest backlot factor now is a 0.07, and if you're at that lowest backlot factor, your principal payment would be $3,282. We also made adjustments to front lots, and I would say lakefront lots. So we had factors for frontage, how many linear feet of frontage you have on the lake. We have factors for the depth of the water in front of your house. We have factors for the view in front of your house. And so each one of those factors have a geometric calculation. And we've made 654 adjustments to those calculations based on input from the people, bringing us data where they have records that are better perhaps than the county GIS records or the old plats. So in summary, there has been a 3-year process where we've heard from thousands of people. We've heard from advisors, and we've made thousands of adjustments to this role. 1,469 adjustments just since the special assessment hearing. So with that, you do have a role in front of you for the capital improvement and for the operations and maintenance. And if anybody has any question about how the methodology was developed, or anything at all about the special assessment roles, I could try to answer them.
Any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Snyder? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ron, for your presentation. I know that they had an opportunity to combine their lots. We have about 8,000 parcels and about 6,000 owners. What if, they say, oh, we didn't combine them. I know they've had plenty of time. How are we going to deal with that? What are the legal ramifications? Can you explain that to us?
In the last several weeks, and I might be off by 1 or 2, but I believe 149 combinations came in. And so that means, there were 149 lots at the last minute that were 2 lots that are now 1 lot. So those, I think as of a day ago, all of the combination information that we were provided by assessors and that were approved are incorporated into the current role.
What if they missed the boat?
Well, the role that I guess I need to probably have Joe answer that question. We have a final role right now in front of you, and I'm just of the opinion right now that there's a deadline, and we have to finalize the role.
Commissioner, thank you. That's correct. I mean, we do not have any control over the assessment in combinations or for that matter, separation of lots as well. And I think the key component is this has been we announced this, I think, 2 years ago or 3 years ago that this was gonna happen. I think it was 2 years ago. And made sure folks were aware of it. But this is not our control. This is really the responsibility of the landowners. And they will provide those. We have to draw the line somewhere. And the line is here today because the assessment goals, as they are presented, it's the final rule.
It's a final one.
It's the final rule, yeah.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for the clarification. Any other commissioner discussion, questions? Seeing none, I think we're going to move into our resolutions, correct? And would you be willing to read that?
First resolution is a resolution approving Four Lakes Special Assessment District 5-year operation and maintenance project cost and special assessment role, and capital improvement project cost and special assessment role for Midland and Gladwin counties, Michigan. At a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the County of Midland, held at the Dow Diamond, 825 East Main Street, Midland, Michigan, commencing at 4 p.m. prevailing Eastern Time on February 6, 2024. Whereas, pursuant to Part 307 of the Michigan Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, Act 451, Public Acts of Michigan, 1994, as amended, Part 307, and the Midland County Board of Commissioners and the Gladwin County Board of Commissioners, each a county and collectively the counties, each appointed the Four Lakes Task Force, a Michigan nonprofit corporation and organization described in Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. The code, as the delegated authority of the counties to perform the duties of the counties with respect to maintaining the normal lake levels for Wixom Lake, Sanford Lake, Smallwood Lake, and Secord Lake, collectively the Four Lakes, and the Four Lakes Special Assessment District, the district, and whereas on October 16, 2018, the Midland County Board of Commissioners, by resolution, determined that the cost of the lake level project to establish and maintain the normal level of the Four Lakes shall be defrayed by special assessments against privately owned parcels of land, political subdivisions of the state, and state-owned lands for the benefits derived. And whereas on May 28, 2019, the Midland County Circuit Court entered an order setting the normal lake levels of the Four Lakes and confirmed the Four Lakes Special Assessment District boundaries. And whereas in accordance with Part 307 on January 15, 2024, the delegated authority held a public hearing in connection with the computation of cost in connection with the 5-year costs and expenses for administration, operations, and maintenance of the lake levels and related facilities of the Secord Lake, Smallwood Lake, Wixom Lake, and Sanford Lake, the Four Lakes, for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. A 5-year operation and maintenance special assessment role, an O&M special assessment role for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. The computation of cost in connection with the capital improvements cost and expenses of lake levels and related facilities of the Four Lakes. A capital improvement special assessment role, and hear any objections. And whereas, following the public hearing, the delegated authority approved the computation of cost in connection with the 5-year costs and expenses for administration, operations, and maintenance of the lake levels and related facilities of the Four Lakes for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. A 5-year O&M special assessment role for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029, totaling $8.876 million, $1,775,200 assessed each year for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. The computation of cost in connection with the capital improvement cost and expenses of lake levels and related facilities of the 4 lakes and capital improvement special assessment role. And whereas the following the public hearing, the delegated authority further approved a plan of financing consistent of one or more series of bonds to be issued by the 4 Lakes Task Force and or a loan from the United States Army Corps of Engineers Water Infrastructure Financing Program, an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $217 million to provide the long-term financing of the cost to design, acquire, and construct improvements necessary to establish and maintain the normal lake levels for the 4 lakes. And whereas pursuant to Part 307 of the Midland County Circuit Court has continuing jurisdiction over the establishment and maintenance of 4 lakes normal lake level, and because of the 4 lakes are located in more than one county, the Midland County Board of Commissioners designates the Midland County Circuit Court as the court authorized to hear any appeals to the O&M Special Assessment Role or Capital Improvement Special Assessment Role pursuant to MCL 324.30701, C, and any such appeals must be filed with the Midland County Circuit Court within 15 days after the approval by the Midland and Gladwin County Boards of Commissioners. It is hereby resolved by the Board of Commissioners as follows. The computation of cost in connection with the 5-year costs and expenses with respect to the administration, operation, and maintenance of the lake levels and related facilities of the 4 lakes for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029, attached as Appendix A, is hereby approved. The 5-year operations and maintenance special assessment role for the 4 Lakes Special Assessment District for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029, totaling $8,876,000 or $1,775,200 assessed each year for the years 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029, attached as Appendix B, is hereby approved. The computation of cost in the amount of $398,875,000 in connection with the capital improvement costs and expenses of the lake levels and related facilities of the 4 lakes attached Appendix C is hereby approved. The capital improvement special assessment role for the 4 Lakes Special Assessment District attached as Appendix D is hereby approved. The plan of financing to provide long-term financing of the cost to design, acquire, and construct improvements necessary to establish and maintain the normal lake levels of the 4 lakes attached as Appendix E is hereby approved. The O&M Special Assessment Role and the Capital Improvement Special Assessment Role shall be final and conclusive unless appealed to the Midland County Circuit Court within 15 days after the approval by the Midland and Gladwin County Boards of Commissioners. Pursuant to MCL 324.30701, C, the Midland County Board of Commissioners hereby designates the Midland County Circuit Court as the authorized to hear any special appeals to the O&M Special Assessment Role or Capital Improvement Special Assessment Role, and such designation shall be deemed to apply retroactively to the date of the establishment of the normal lake levels for the 4 lakes, May 28, 2019. This resolution shall become effective only if the Board of Commissioners of the County of Gladwin adopts a resolution substantially in the form of this resolution. All resolutions and part of resolutions, insofar as the same may be in conflict with the provisions of this resolution are hereby rescinded.
Thank you, Ann. On behalf of Gladwin, the resolution is the same, so I don't need to read the entire resolution. They'll indicate indicate that changes where it started at a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the County of Gladwin held at downtown, commencing at 4 p.m. Today, February 6th. So again, the resolution as read speaks to Gladwin's resolution as well. The second whereas paragraph about the resolution determining the costs initially, Gladwin's was whereas on October 9th, 2018, the Gladwin County Board of Commissioners by resolution determined that the costs of the lake level project to establish and maintain the normal level of the four lakes shall be defrayed by special assessments against privately owned parcels of land, political subdivisions of the state, and state-owned lands for benefits derived. On page 2, the third, fourth paragraph down, speaking of jurisdiction, I want to direct your attention to that. Whereas pursuant to Part 307, the Midland County Circuit Court has continuing jurisdiction over the establishment and maintenance of the four lakes normal lake level, and because the four lakes are located in more than one county, the Gladwin County Board of Commissioners designates the Midland County Circuit Court as the court authorized to hear any appeals to the O&M Special Assessment Rule or Capital Improvement Special Assessment Rule pursuant to MCL 324.30701(c), and any such appeals must be filed with the Midland County Circuit Court within 15 days after approval by the Midland and Gladwin County Boards of Commissioners. Again, and then at the last, that's restated again under number 7 in the resolution that Gladwin County designates Midland County Circuit Court as the court authorized to hear appeals. And then finally, this resolution shall become effective only if the Board of Commissioners of the County of Midland adopts a resolution substantially in the form of this resolution. That is Gladwin County's proposed resolution. And with that, Gladwin County will entertain a motion and a second on this resolution. Moved by Commissioner Bisnow. Is there a second? Moved by Commissioner Bisnow, seconded by Commissioner O'Donnell to approve the resolution of the Four Lakes Special Assessment District 5-year operation and maintenance project costs and special assessment role and capital improvement project costs and special assessment role. Any other commissioner comments or questions at this time? I think actually before we do that, no, since it's Gladwin, I think we're going to go ahead and go ahead. I guess I do have just a couple comments. It was stated in the hearing, and we also, if you've not seen the agenda, there is public comment. We do want to hear from you and be given an opportunity. It is a public hearing, so we are following the agenda as approved. It was stated, and my opinion is the counties do, and I guess, no, I speak for Gladwin County. Gladwin County does have an obligation to bring the lakes back. That was stated, and I agree with that. We have an obligation to not only the lakefront owners, but the community as a large. We have an obligation, and it was stated by the Four Lakes, the three critical issues that came out of the January 15th hearing. Everyone who uses the lakes should pay, that we need to find alternative sources of funds, and we need to look at the affordability of the project. I believe over the course of time, and I can say I have been involved since the breach in 2020, and when it was stated by Mr. Nancy, that they've heard from thousands of people, we have as well. We've heard from you since 2020, we heard from you when the operational assessment was being discussed and was a big concern. And we needed a path forward, we had a path forward, and I don't know about you, but looking back to 2020, I don't believe we would have seen this day had not been for the efforts of the Four Lakes Task Force. Again, we're entitled to our opinions, and we'll be able to state those during public comment, and we all do want to hear from you. That said, I do believe the Four Lakes has set forth the path forward, and the path is time to sound, and I'm then going to ask if there's any other commissioner comments, if not, for Gladwin, I'll point a call for a vote. Any other commissioner wishing to make a comment? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Morton? Commissioner Grove? Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Bismarck?
Yes.
5 yes, 0 no. Resolution declared adopted.
Midland.
How can you vote before anybody's even said anything? You haven't even heard of it. They don't care.
Okay, on behalf of Midland County, I'd like to motion for, move it and, look for motion for support from somebody.
Commissioner Glazer moved, and Twilliger for support.
Thank you. Is there any commissioner discussion on this? Any commissioner? Yes, Commissioner Snyder.
voice be heard.
Hi, I just wanted to state that that was my concern as well earlier today, and I would have liked to move public comment up to C before we decided. As you know, these things are put to a vote, and I was outvoted on that, 3-4. But I just want to make aware that we did discuss that in the meeting this morning. I still want to hear from you. I know many of you have emailed me, you have called me, you have my personal cell phone number, and that is always available to you. I wholeheartedly believe that the Four Lakes is doing everything they can to help us. We do not have a dam department. We have an overworked parks director, emergency manager, and administrative controllers, who I am so grateful for. We will continue to press forward if these votes go through, if these resolutions go through. My main concern is finding the funding, and I'm glad when I mentioned that in a room full of people, they looked at me, well, duh, that is all of our goal. So that makes me feel confident that everybody sees that need. But I just wanted to make mention, please stay, please continue with your public comments as we go through the business of the meeting. Thank you.
Is there any other commissioner discussion? Seeing no other commissioner discussion, and will you call roll, please?
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Glazer?
Yes.
Twilliger?
Yes.
Geisler?
Here. Welcome to Communist China.
Dorian?
Yes.
Smith? Oh. Sorry, Commissioner Dorian?
Call yourself religious and you're kicking people out of their home. God will judge you, along with us.
Enjoy your last meetings.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Bone?
Yes.
6 yes, 1 absent, motion carries.
And would you read the second resolution, please?
The resolution approving plan of financing for Lake Special Assessment District and pledging full faith and credit of the County of Midland within constitutional and statutory limitations for the financing of the Four Lakes Level Project, Four Lakes Special Assessment District Bonds, Series 2024, Midland and Gladwin Counties, Michigan. A special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the County of Midland held at the Dow Diamond at 825 East Main Street, Midland, Michigan, commencing at 4 p.m. prevailing Eastern Time on February 6, 2024. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the County of Midland and the Board of Commissioners of the County of Gladwin, Midland and Gladwin each county and collectively the counties have each by resolution indicated a desire to initiate proceedings under Part 307 of the Michigan Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, Act 451, Public Acts of Michigan, 1994, as amended. Part 307 to determine the normal lake level for Wixom Lake, located in Midland and Gladwin counties, Sanford Lake, located in Midland County, Smallwood Lake, located in Gladwin County, and Secord Lake, located in Gladwin County, collectively the 4 lakes. Appointing the 4 Lakes Task Force, a Michigan nonprofit corporation and organization described in Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended. The code as the delegated authority of the counties, hereinafter referred to as the delegated authority to perform the duties of the counties with respect to maintaining the normal lake levels for the 4 lakes under Part 307, and determine that the cost of all proceedings and any improvements to establish and maintain normal lake level for the 4 lakes shall be defrayed by special assessments against property in the special assessment district to be established by the delegated authority in accordance with the procedures set forth in Part 307. And whereas at the request of the counties, the Midland County Circuit Court, by order dated May 28, 2019, determined and established normal lake levels for the 4 lakes, revised and confirmed the boundaries of the special assessment district. And whereas at the request of the counties, the delegated authority has prepared a special assessment district, designated the 4 lakes special assessment district, and hereinafter referred to as the district, for the purpose of paying the cost of the project to establish and maintain the normal lake levels for the 4 lakes. The project, and whereas the delegated authority on behalf of the district intends to issue 1 or more series of bonds to be issued by the 4 Lakes Task Force, the bonds and/or loans from the United States Army Corps of Engineers Water Infrastructure Financing Program, and the loans in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $217 million to provide the long-term financing pursuant to Part 307 and Act 34, Public Acts of Michigan, 2001, as amended, Act 34, and will be secured by and payable from the collection of special assessments against properties in the district. And whereas the delegated authority on behalf of the district intends to issue the first of 1 or more series of bonds in an amount not to exceed $80 million to provide the long-term financing pursuant to Part 307 and Act 34, and will be secured by and payable from the collection of special assessments against properties in the district. Whereas it is expected that 20% of the cost of the project will be assessed against property in the county of Midland, and 80% of the cost of the project will be assessed against property in the county of Gladwin. And whereas pursuant to Section 147 F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended, the code, the district held a public hearing on January 15, 2024, at the Beaverton Activity Center at 106 Tompkins Street, Beaverton, Michigan, 48612, with respect to the plan of financing the project with bonds and loans as described above, the plan of financing. And the district has forwarded record of each hearing to the Board of Commissioners of each county. And whereas, as provided in Section 147F of the code, in order for the bonds and loans to be issued on tax-exempt basis, it is necessary for the Board of Commissioners of each county to approve the plan of financing. And whereas the delegated authority deems it is advisable and necessary to obtain from this Board of Commissioners a resolution consenting to the pledge of the limited full faith and credit of the county on the bonds to the extent the cost of the project is expected to be assessed against property in the county of Midland. Now therefore, be resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the County of Midland, the plan of financing is approved. Pursuant to the authorization provided in Section 307.05 of Part 307, provided that the bonds are authorized by the delegated authority in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $80 million, bear interest at a rate of not to exceed 6% per annum, and mature on or before June 1st, 2064. The Midland County Board of Commissioners does hereby pledge the full faith and credit of the County of Midland for the prompt payment of the principal of and interest on the bonds when due, and does agree that in the event of the receipt of funds from the bonds are not issued prior to the date on which the principal of and interest on the bonds are due, and that monies are not otherwise available to the district on such date to pay such principal and interest, the county treasurer is directed to immediately make such advancement from the general funds of the county of Midland to the extent necessary to pay the county of Midland's share of the principal and interest on the bonds when due. The ability of the county of Midland to levy taxes to pay its share of the principal of and interest on the bond shall be subject to constitutional and statutory limitations on the taxing power of said county. In the event that pursuant to said pledge of full faith and credit, the county of Midland advances out of county funds any part of the principal and interest on the bonds, it shall be the duty of the county treasurer for and on behalf of the county of Midland to take all actions and proceedings and pursue all remedies permitted or authorized by law for the reimbursement of such sums so paid. This resolution shall become effective only if the Board of Commissioners of the County of Gladwin adopts a resolution substantially in the form of this resolution that pledges the limited tax full faith and credit of the County of Gladwin to the payment of 80% of the principal of interest in the bonds when due. All resolution and parts of resolution, insofar as the same may be in conflict with the provisions of this resolution, are hereby rescinded.
Thank you, and again, because this is a joint resolution, but we are Gladwin County, and that was read by Midland. I want to indicate that the title of this would be Gladwin, and it would be the County of Gladwin's special meeting being held here at Down on February 6th. Then if we, I'm on now the third page, second full whereas paragraph of the project is expected to be assessed against the property in the County of Gladwin, and now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Gladwin. And again, all of paragraph 2, where it was read into the record, that would be the Midland County Board of Commissioners, would be the Gladwin County Board of Commissioners. In paragraph 3, in the event that pursuant to said pledge of full faith and credit, the County of Gladwin advances funds, and for and on behalf of the County of Gladwin to take all action and proceedings and pursue all remedies permitted. Paragraph 4, this resolution shall become effective only if the Board of Commissioners of the County of Midland adopts a resolution substantially in the form of this resolution that pledges the limited tax full faith and credit of the County of Midland to the payment of 20% of the principal of and interest on the bonds when due. Otherwise, the resolution for Gladwin would be as read into the record. With that, and with it being read, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. I'm sorry, that was Commissioner Bisnow. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bisnow, seconded by Commissioner O'Donnell to approve a resolution approving plan of financing for Lake Special Assessment District and pledging full faith and credit of the County of Gladwin and constitutional and statutory limitations for the financing of Four Lakes level project for Lake Special Assessment District bonds, Series 2024, Midland and Gladwin Counties, Michigan. I, Gladwin County Commissioner, have any other questions or comments on this resolution at this time? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Rowe? Commissioner Taylor? Commissioner Bisnow?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
5 yes. Resolution declared adopted.
I would now look for a motion to approve and support from the Midland County Board.
So now.
Moved by Glazer, support by Twilliger. Do we have any commissioner discussion? Any commissioner discussion whatsoever? Seeing none, and would you call roll, please?
Commissioner Glazer?
Yes.
Twilliger?
Yes.
Geisler?
Yes.
Dorian?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion carries.
Okay, at this point, we're going to move on to public comment. I know there's quite a few that are upset, but I want to remind you, January 15th, we heard all of the objections. So this is a different order of business today, but we've heard your objections. We're concerned about your objections, and we are working to tell you moving forward, if anybody would like to do public comment, we're going to keep it to 2 minutes. You follow the line right here. It's not a question and answer, it's Mr. Comments, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah, please keep it to 2 minutes.
My comment to you is this: hey, you stole my retirement. Okay, I've worked my whole life to be in the budget. You all stole that from me. It's put me in that. I will not buy any goods or services in Midland or Bladen County. I will purchase them in other counties. I will not support you. And C, I suggest everyone else do the same thing and look down every village that you are asked to support, because you are not supporting us in finding revenue. Your businesses should be paying some of this. They're not. You make a killing, and you're leaving us to dry.
You're in our time.
You won't answer any questions.
I'm Richard Rodman from Midland, Michigan.
Thank you.
I'm not here to ask any questions. It's my first time in here, and I missed the boat, but I want to say one thing. Common sense is not in this room with you folks up here on the board. I'll tell you that.
Get that right.
I never heard anybody here talk about hooking up those power generators that would help pay for this. You cry you ain't got money. You're nuts. You're all nuts. You're foolish. And that's not. Blow your mouth. Okay, what about the dam, Chapel Dam? You guys can buy it. What about Chapel Dam and Beavers? You never heard a thing about the water. That goes right down 3 years ago, guys. Haven't heard the damn thing about it. I'm going in my time to somebody else.
I'll take it.
I have 2 points I'd like to make today. But first, I actually want to thank those who volunteered to be on the 4-H task force. They volunteered for a very difficult project. Virtually every person in business in this area wants to reach back. Point number 1, the government should pay the entire cost of this project to replace what we lost. The government forward to protect the dams in case we had a 1,000-year flood. Then the government allowed the water to be raised, knowing the improvements had not been made. Why? I think they took on the responsibility when they did that. Mid-Michigan people, through their taxes, have been supporting disasters on the West Coast, the Mississippi Valley for years. It is now their turn to support from our government to help us out. And if you can't get them to step up to that, then I move on to my point 2. The 2 counties are now the owners of Lake Bottom. They will also be owning the dams when they're completed. Therefore, they should pay some portion of the cost. You're asking the SAD to pay the shortfall to replace the dams. The SAD is spending a large sum of money to maintain the original property values that we had, to continue to pay original taxes from those original assessments, to support the tax revenue, support the residents and the business in both counties. The non-SAD county residents and businesses have no skin in the game. Many business and people will benefit from the lake's return. The 2 counties should pay 50 or 75% of the current shortfall. Right now, that group will be paying nothing. If you will not add this to the cost of your taxes, like the SAD has done to us, then I am asking the commission here to take it to a vote. Let the people in the counties make the decision, not this commission.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Malek, just give us 2 minutes. Yes, please.
Who will pay for the dams and those.
I'm asking you to sit
down. Mike Sorowski, Smallwood Lake. First of all, I get it. We're in a bad situation, all of us are. But here and have you tell us that, oh, the vote's already taken and now you can have public comment? What good does that do us? You tell us you want transparency, you won't let your attorneys talk to us. You guys don't want to talk to us, and God bless you. You will be sitting there next time. I guarantee that. You have anything to do with it? And the next thing, you get so upset, but after the fact, you want to let us speak our comment. So in other words, we have no say, just like when we were at the last meeting, that the only 700 people came in a snowstorm, under below zero. What else was it? Oh, it was a holiday and people worked and there was electric out and only a small amount of people.
Showed up for.
Right, but only, how many showed up for it? Because I'll tell you what, the people that I've talked to, there's about 80% that don't mind this. I get it that we have to pay for it, but I don't get the whole idea that everybody wants to make that, of course, but at what cost to all of us? And one other thing here, we keep hearing about nonprofit. You guys get paid. Don't say you don't get paid, because you do get paid. I always hear, and we have to make a choice. Hey, what choice do we have? We sell our place and lose money, or stay there and get raked over the coals. What happens in 5 years? Does this cost go back up? And you guys that just voted, whoever has property on any one of these lakes that has anything to do with it, better check, because in your code of conduct says you are not allowed to vote on it, talk about it, or say anything on this board. And you want to check your code of conduct, I got it right here. It says it right here that you're not, anybody that has any say in it has nothing, should accuse themselves of that vote.
It's 2 minutes, thank you, though.
Yeah, and I tell you, you guys transparency, and we're not getting it. Who's paying for the lawyers?
Yes, please.
Who's paying for the lawyers?
We are.
We're paying for all this, and none of us are allowed to say anything. And
I'm going to have you
removed
if you don't.
That's fine, you can have me removed, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to have all of you removed. But you know what? You're not listening to the people. We're the people, not you. We're all the people. Come on here for absolutely nothing. I what?
You wait for
Not 2 minutes. Guys, that's my stage. Yeah, shit. Must be.
I'm sorry.
We had 3 minutes last time. I'm just saying, we made rules. Anyways, I'm drawing the last meeting I did make it to. I came in, I had 12 stars. You know what I got? Guess what I got?
Wow.
I got $2,000 more in assessment. Thanks. I was already gonna lose the house. So,
No, they'll.
but you guys don't care. You say it's a Midland County problem, a Gladwin County problem. Why aren't the counties paying? Why is everybody in the county paying? They're all publicly. Why is it on us?
We all got to pay some.
There are people, I want everyone to know that there are people that are paying. Please look at them.
I'm sorry.
I was raised to be accountable for my actions.
You didn't like
This was not like anyone in this room's fault.
You took the power off the mic.
The federal government was aware of these deficiencies through fining them, taking away licenses. The state was aware of them by fining them. They admitted they did the deficiencies. Nobody ever made sure the dams were repaired. Why are we
not holding the people accountable. That's my biggest thing. You guys have practiced in this room. Nobody's doubting it. I wouldn't sit here seat for $1 million. Why are we not holding this? Everybody in this room should be contacting the governor's office every day. Put the phone number in your contacts. When you're driving down the road, dial it. Say, who's here for the state? Who's here? No.
Because she's up.
Where is Holding? Where is the governor or the staff? I've sent emails to all of them and haven't gotten a response. We need to hammer them to death daily. Don't just think that's a great idea and send an email. That, oh, what's on TV? Send the damn email. Everyone, stay on it. Don't get off. You're not going to be able to fix any of this. Four Lakes' job is to bring the lakes back the quickest way possible. I understand this is the fastest way. It's not the right way.
Right.
It takes 10 years to get the money. It takes 10 years. But everyone in this room has to stay on it. How many have written an email to this day? Just a show of hands. That's it. It's less than 25%.
I did 4 to the governor, she has
I
not.
appreciate that, but it should be 90%. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Bunch. I'm a treasurer, trustee.
Yeah, you're one of the ones that laughed at everybody.
Of Smallwood Lake Association.
You work for Four Lakes, Mark?
I'm working for Lakes.
Working, not volunteer, right?
No problem.
No. Don't get me. Yeah.
I have a letter that our president, John Hart, wrote, and they asked me to put it into the record. They'd like to just convince that the elected board of Smallwood Lake Association hereby expresses the support for the county commissioners of Midland and Gladwin counties to approve the resolutions relating to the assessment of classification and costs for the Four Lakes as for the Four Lakes Board. The position is supported by our board and large majority of property owners who attended the September 2023 meeting of the association. It has come to our attention that there will be individuals at the meeting who may claim to represent the voice of the homeowners of Smallwood Lake. While they are entitled to a personal opinion, they do not speak for the members of Smallwood Lake Association, nor do they have any legitimate status as representatives of the residents of Smallwood Lake. The concern here surrounding the assessment, nobody wants to spend money, but we have not heard any alternative proposals other than abandoning the restoration project or the lane construction. Either of these options are cost-free or costly.
Thank you, Mark. Maybe you guys can.
My name is Martha Nelson. I live in Eatonville. I live on the back of River. In the dam field, it's filled out with rock. Our water is not supposed to be full. I also lost my house. I'm sorry. We lost our house in the flood. We were able to repair it, there wasn't money available. What I would like to know is, I heard someone mention mussels today. Is that going to be a problem going forward with Clifton Lake? And also, I've heard the 4 dams mentioned, but I haven't heard the spillway mentioned. And how that's going to be repaired, is that being repaired with the Inville Dam or if it's a separate, I don't know if someone has the answer for me or not. But our water is very low in front of our house, and with the debris that washed in from the dam failure, we don't have usable water. It's 12 foot deep, so I appreciate the effort to get our place back, but it's been a long road for everybody, so I appreciate that help, and I hope that our lakes come back. I'd really like to see the state of Michigan with $119 million back that they're supposed to get from Mueller for loss of ecosystem, because our ecosystem is gone. It's not going to come back in our lifetime. We're not going to have fishing, things that we can enjoy. We're not going to have those things. I appreciate being able to say what I'm to say. I'm speaking on behalf of our small little part of the group. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is George Scratch. My name is George Scratch. I'm the owner of the River House Bar and Grill. I'm one of two properties on the small little lake that is commercial. You devastated. You taxed for more than, I'm a seasonal bar. Most of these people up here are snowbirds. They leave. So I have 6 months, maybe 7 months to accommodate enough money to pay this tax and my employees and anything else that comes along. This tax, there's no way that I can make it. It's something that's now going to, it's $250,000 for one piece of commercial property. It's unheard of. I can't fathom it. It's going to kill the market. My parents put it in and brought that car back. And now, I'm afraid I'm going to lose it over with. It's ridiculous. And the amount of exercise. I don't know how that number was. It was only 2 pieces. 2 pieces of commercial property on that. Mine and the marina. And you're right. Everybody should chip in. I look at businesses all over there. On the other side, out the down. They benefit from the people that come up here on weekends. Everybody should be taxed. Everyone. Equally. No way that just people on the water. This whole community, the county gets money from the people that come in or downstairs. Everybody. So it should be assessed equally amongst all the other businesses.
Absolutely.
That get money from the people that come up and downstairs. It's a seasonal deal. Everything is. So you'll see a lot of snowboards go, but when they come back, that's the only time you have a chance to make money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lakeside, Wilson Lake, and.
What's your name, please?
Pardon me?
Name, please?
My name? Pick mine. This is kind of Chris audience. I don't know how many live on one of the 4 lakes.
4 of them.
How many of you have ever been on the 4 lakes? And enjoyed the day out there enjoying and not living on it. I know millions of people that come from Detroit, Saginaw, all over they have fishing tournaments from all over the country on these lakes. And now you want us to pay for this enjoyment that everybody comes and does. You know, I asked before, what about a countywide assessment? Instead of hitting us with, you know, $2,000 a year, why not hit everybody in the county for $20 a year? I mean, you guys know as much as I do that everybody in Blackman County and Midland County use those lakes, and they don't even live on them. They enjoy it, they bring their boats, they bring their snowmobiles, they bring all that stuff in there. Use it all winter, all summer, and we get stuck with the price.
As long as the county makes money.
We don't mind paying some, but we don't want to pay the whole bill. Spread it around. Let's do that.
All right, thank you.
My name's Mike Adolph. I live right in front of Smallwood Dam. I want to ask you guys, every one of you guys, you need Fort Lakes Task Force. How many of you guys lost $200,000 over this?
Yeah.
Can you raise your hand? I did. My house was the third house that flooded when this catastrophe happened. I have films of the whole day event that went on. And everybody's right, no one lowered its legs. No one did nothing. I even helped my own community with my own equipment to take stuff down to the dump, down in Albright Shores. I got spit at. I paid for my own gun that FEMA was supposed to pay for and reimbursed my money back to me. My own AC condenser that was 4 foot underwater. My own house, FEMA gave me $20,000. What do you do with $20,000? Did I ask every one of you that? So you continue to kick people down that's been down? Just like the lady that was up here. Where's help for us at? Is there somebody that's down on the ground and you keep kicking them in the head and making them bleed out? Is that what's going on here? It's like I said, none of you guys lost a damn thing. And everybody should pay. Just like everybody saying, every business. I own a business, and I don't even don't pay. But every business around here should make a tribute to the taxes on these lakes. But I don't think somebody should rule us that hasn't lost anything to do with these dams. And that's all of you right here.
There you go. Just remember, everybody should pay, from Seacourt down to Saginaw River, because
That's right.
it's one lake. How does it just become an assessment for us? I know you're going to throw me out. And I just want to hear it ask you. Just be transparent to us. Why is it just us? Where do we have the money that no one else does?
I need to have your money, please.
Hello, my name is Malek, and I'm one of the snowbird callers. And I have a question, since this is a one-week communication for Mr. Kepler and Joe Cleaning, please. If you could define transparency, what is your definition of transparency?
Bare legal minimum.
And how did you guys communicate to us? I have never received a single letter or looking at the news on the paper or a USPS letter coming from you guys to say there is a meeting. And the only way I know that because some of the people that are living here all year round, they told me. And I came from Nashville, Tennessee, just for this meeting. I was going to come for 15, but there's no people that allowed me. What's the purpose of these meetings? You guys just sitting and we're complaining and you just move on. Is that a one-way communication? Is that a dictatorship management? And then the other part is, I would like, excuse me, I would like to bring the attention to Ms. Daniel Down and Karen Moore and Rick Grove and Janet Snyder and Kay Turtle. I'm sorry if I swallowed your last name. Are you aware of the law? It's the regulatory law that is for the board and the commissioner. And Act 9615.483, Section 3. If you're not aware of it, I would suggest you go and read it. You guys are not supposed to be sitting there and voting because you all are owner and their personal interest in those properties. I hope you can see tonight.
There you go.
Commissioners, Randy McDonald, owner of Hammer Builders, out of Beaverton, Michigan. I build a lot of homes around Mixon Lake, Smallwood, Secord. I've witnessed, I moved up here 35 years ago for these lakes with my parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. We brought many of the community. One thing I've noticed is nobody likes to listen when it has to do with you people. It's like we put our blood, sweat, and tears into all this stuff, you know, building lakes and taking care of them, and it's like they just get ripped right from us. I'm just up here to basically encourage all the people. We got 15 days to appeal this. Place joint 4 Lakes property owners staying strong. We got attorneys ready to go.
Yeah.
We need to come together as a group and fight this.
Yeah.
I truly feel we need younger people on board. I mean, you can tell it's obvious.
It's on us.
Nobody wants to listen. I feel like I'm ashamed of this board. Look at some of these old people, the old folks in this place, they're gonna lose their properties and homes, and it's like nobody even gives a shit. Me as an owner of a company, I'm losing my lots. As a young man, I got 4 lots on Wixom Lake. I can't afford these assessments. There's different ways of going about this. And you guys just push this shit through. I don't get it. Like, why don't you listen to people before you pass something? But we can see where the money is here in the suits and the white heads.
There is no sharing. You've already been up. You're not going to take it. You're not going to take it. If you talk, you're going to share. Somebody that says you spoke, there's no sharing.
We don't say a word.
Hold on, everybody. I can't understand any words that are going on up there. Number one, I'm Myrtle Point, and I'm on Spalding Lake, okay? He was on the phone playing a silly game or something, I don't know what. You guys really don't care. This is an election year. I have a minute and 50 seconds, and I really appreciate the mic.
He's got my 2 minutes. He can speak. He can speak.
Why don't you guys go, how many of you on the board are reading that?
Let him speak. Let him speak. Let him speak.
That's the problem. You don't want nothing to do. How many of you have contacted someone in Lansing or sent an email? Did I see a hand? Has anybody? No, I'm talking about the board. We put you up there. We're paying for all this, and I can't speak. I take time off work to come here to do this, and I can't speak. And it's already done. You already, and guess what? You guys don't get to have, you don't get to have your say. We're gonna have your say first, and then you can come up here and say what you want, but if you don't say what I want you to say, you're gone. It's not fair. Why?
What you're doing.
But
But he didn't get a chance to finish.
Why don't they let the people from, why don't you go back there and sue them, or go back and appeal it, and have it go from everybody that does these lakes? I'm out.
Thank you.
Most of you gotta go.
One of you guys are home tonight, you need to crack open. I hope they have on the Lake of Fire. Because that's where you're all going. Lake of Fire!
Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Shayna. I live on the Tibuwassee River, Tibuwassee Street, actually. Public speaking is not my forte, so bear with me. How many of you guys live on the river or on a lake? And it's affected by this assessment? None. We bought our house in 2022. We didn't know about the assessments in 2018, 2019. We were not included in these conversations. We just found out about the January ones, but I had a day job. I couldn't make it. I strive to take care of my patients, but I don't make enough to afford these assessments. I'm not saying we don't pay. I'm saying that the county should pay because they own the water. My property ends where the water begins, always. That has been a rule. The dams, I think they're hydroelectric, right? They used to be. Okay. So I'll scratch that. But there's a lot of public boat launches, public parks that are touching the rivers and the lakes. There's a lot of small businesses that are going to be affected by this. You got to think about them too, not just us. You got to think about the small businesses that are struggling to thrive with the water gone, and you're going to be hurting them just as much as you're hurting us. You're looking me in the eye and you're telling me I don't deserve to afford my home. That's what I got from this meeting today. So I thank you for coming out and spitting in our faces. And for hearing us. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
My notes are very detailed. Can you hear me? My name is Elizabeth Warner, and I live in Blackburn County, right on water. It's been known since the constructions of these dams in 1924 that they were not constructed properly. Nothing more than has been done in almost 100 years. This event was foreseen, it has been foreseen, a great event happening, and that's why I feel that that boundaries issue in 2019 voted on by the courts was quite convenient, eliminating Midland and Dow Chemical, who also have the benefit of these waters. Multiple residents of other counties come in and utilize these waters. This should not be on the backs of the property owners here. It's the traps. I heard there were supposedly 2 bills being proposed, and I've seen nothing on the news about those. I'd like to know if the original copy of the inspection done in 1924 is available to us, the property owners. I would like to have a copy of that. Like I said, this event was anticipated long before its actual occurrence. Nothing was done. And to more than 50% of the cost back on the property owners is the trust. And I would like it readdressed to request more state and federal funding on this matter. This took almost 100 years to happen. It's taken less than 4 years for this assessment to be put on the backs of the property. I appreciate your time, and I hope that this can be further addressed before the final decisions.
Thank you.
You're not saying much. Yeah.
Good evening, council members. I should say commissioners. I'm used to the other side. My name's Carl Ham. I'm a councilman for the village of Salmon. And I'm here to speak with you and with everybody in this room, not just the commissioners. This isn't the commissioners' fault. I want you to understand that, everyone. These people are elected public officials. They're paid very, very minimal, because I know, because I am one. But they're trying to do the best they can with what they have.
Not doing a very good job.
Not at all.
Okay, no, okay, hang on a minute. I understand everybody's upset. I'm upset with you. I understand, I looked at, I have your assessments in here. I've looked at most of them. Granted, they're not perfect, and I understand that most of us, and I'm retired, live on a fixed income. I cannot afford to pay another $2,500 a year for taxes, like most of you do. I also was a victim of the flood. I live less than 800 feet from the Sanford Dam. in downtown Sanford. So I know your plight, because I lost everything I owned when we turned 65. I've rebuilt. These people are trying to help us get back this community. I agree with you that the way we're doing it and the funding is not the best sellers. I don't have an answer for Dave, but I think we got cheated by the state of Michigan and the federal government.
Now we're getting fucked by the county.
And I understand, this is exactly what you're seeing, and I'm seeing the same thing. I'm sure, and I've talked to most of the, or several of the commissioners, I can't say most, I've talked to several of the commissioners on this board, and I know that there is things in place where they're trying to get other funding. They were committed for what you've done for the last 3 years, and the police task. Thanks, Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Good afternoon, my name is Terrence Hall from Edenville Township. I just want to touch on a couple of points. One, I think it's a little bit ironic that the state of Michigan is claiming that we had a budget surplus year of billions of dollars. It'd be nice if maybe they had some heart for what happened to us in the flood. Okay, secondly, I'm fully aware that every citizen in Midland or Gladwin County could create a petition to put a millage on the ballot, but that's a long process. The commissioners could create millage language and put on ballots in each county, requesting a millage for the whole county. And then we'd find out if the whole county actually wants to help us offset the cost of this. That's a thing that can be done. Now, as for the cost and the damage to all this, that can be done. All we can do is our best to overcome. And I think one of the most important things we can do is remember that we are Americans. We believe in law and order. And people who choose to bully, catcall, and throw their chest out because they don't think they're going to get in trouble by the system, we got to resist that. Right? So I do appreciate you holding people to their 2 minutes. I do appreciate the crowd holding people to their 2 minutes. Because we have a process that needs to be followed. This process for the special assessment started in 2019. It has been followed 100% legally to a T. We're at where we're at now because too many people that say they care today didn't care in 2019.
They didn't know.
And that's nothing that we can fix. We have to go forward from where we're at now, and I appreciate the fact that you have voted tonight that my legs will be coming back. Thank you for your time.
Your legs.
Name and address, please.
I appreciate you guys know who I am. I'm Cotton. If you don't know me, you'll get to know me very well. I feel like when people say you're going to hell, it has lost its meaning. I just want to clarify, all of you that voted yes are going to hell because you did vote yes to kick people out of their homes. And you can play this cute game of, oh, February 1st we had some bills come across that it's supposed to protect the people that are getting assessed for upwards of, there's one young lady I know who has $200,000 that she's supposed to pay over 40 years. She's 92, and you want her to get $5,000 a year extra somehow to put it towards this assessment that you're putting on all of us. None of it makes sense. None of it. I mean, I just want you guys to know that the majority of the people here, and a lot of people, oh, here's another thing. My wife and I, Paul over here, we've gone to, I'm going to guess, around 750 homes in the special assessment district. Door to door, knocked on the doors, and talked to these folks. You want to know what those numbers are? 15 to 20% of them are snowbirds. They're not even here right now, let alone know how much they're being assessed for. Guess how many were okay with the amount they were being assessed? 2%, like your poll says. But you don't give a shit about your poll. Your poll can say one thing, and you're just going to completely lose it out of your sight and go vote for what you guys want to vote for anyway. It makes no sense. So, I just want you to know, going to hell does have some special meaning still, and everybody that voted yes, pray because you really need help.
Hello, my name is Kevin Armstrong. I moved to Sanford Lake in 2022. My wife and I, we came here to try to be part of the rebuild. We knew there was going to be a rebuild, hoping there was going to be a rebuild. But my question to each and every one of you up there is the simple fact of you just voted to reduce all of our properties. So my question is does that mean that our taxes are also going to reflect this inflation, this supplemental assessment that you just put out? Because you just reduced the property values of all of us until we pay this off. Yeah. I want to know, do you take that into account when our taxes roll around, the rest of our taxes? Because I got to pay $22,000 is what I got to pay for my portion of special assessment over 40 years paying, I believe it's Dow Chemical, from what I understand, what I've heard. I got to pay them 5%, which now it's total $52,000 for 40 years. Holy smokes. So all I got to say is I hope that there's some more work. I hope all of you up there continue to work with all of our legislators and figure this out, because the solution you come up with is not the right one. We've got more work to do.
Please, you have to take the microphone. Can you hear me okay? My name is Kimberly Settler.
Bring it down.
My name is Kimberly Settler at Sanford, Verity Shores. My only concern, and I heard Pete say it, that the Beaverton meeting was a hearing. I have neighbors who are in the neighborhood, and I've been trying to keep in touch with them, letting them know about these meetings. If a person only has a landline, if they are not on social media, if they didn't go to the right website to find out about these meetings, how is any of these people supposed to know to even voice a concern, yes, you know, any opinion? It is just what I've been concerned about is the people who got left behind, who didn't know about any of these meetings, or didn't know back in 2018 they were supposed to have got a vote then, or 2019 a vote. You know, that's my concern. Thank you.
They don't care.
Quickly, I'd like to start my address with this. We are all blessed in one respect here. There was no loss of life on that day. Truly,
Is there any other public comment today?
Can I get Rich my phone call?
Okay, yep.
I just want to ask all you commissioners one question. You see these folks out here? How do you expect them to do this? My assessment at one time, when I first looked at it, was $1,700. And I know a lady that's sitting on the board right now that told me it wouldn't go over $2,000. Because I'm on the backwater of the Little Tobacco. What happened? $2,200, Mr. Kepler. I can't do it. My father built that for me. My father built that for me. He was a steel worker. He's got burns on his body. I know you don't care. I know you don't. But I'll tell you something, all these people are going to lose their homes. And I hope you guys all can sleep at night. I really, really do. Tammy, I was at that meeting, and I know what you said to me. So, I got no more to say. But look at them, because they're just like your parents.
Thank you.
My name is Brad Wilson. I'm a resident of Seaboard Lake. For the last 60+ years, my family's owned various properties across the lake. My nephew will make a fourth generation support lake camp. We're excited to see the construction continue. We're looking forward to the water coming back so we can create more memories with our friends and family and help support local small businesses. I know everybody's not happy right now. Let's be honest, black, white, left or right, who likes taxes going up? Nobody. I don't know, as we all walk out of here today, I just want to remind people that, well, that does sing, life could always be a lot worse. So, thank you.
People are literally getting picked up at home. Right, so.
Sorry, it's a little difficult with my wheelchair. I just don't want to run into anybody or injure anybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Doug Hill. I'm the president of Midland Lake Association. I've got a lot of emotion in the room today. A lot of people saying a lot of things, but I'll tell you that we've been working on the things that we know we can control. And we've been working on the lake beds because that's really the only way that we can contribute to this. You know, we're not sitting in Washington or Lansing, swaying where the money's coming from. But I will tell you that some of the people in the area have, and there's a lot of people in this room that have supported events that we put on to do the work that we're doing. And we're going to continue to do that work. I told Dave, I told other people over the course of the time at Beaverton and other places that just watching people come here and talk about, what kind of heartache that they're going to be enduring here is a lot of motivation for a lot of us to do something more and better. So I live on the lake myself. I'm going to have to endure what happens here, just like everyone else. But I also say that in order for this to change, you have to give people a better mousetrap. You can't come here and say you need a better mousetrap if you don't have it. Okay? So for us, we've been just spending time working on the things that we can control. We'll be glad as an association, some of my board members are here, as well as Sanford and Secord. We've worked back and forth to put any people in the line of fire with, I'm going to my first, political arena meeting on Friday to try to figure out ways that we can put more money on the table from our area. So I would recommend that all of you that are taking those stances that go past your anger a little bit and start putting yourself in a position to figure out how we can help. Because right now, we know what we're facing. So we want to help the people that can. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else need to press those?
Good evening, everyone. I do agree that there's a better way to do this, and I think it starts here. Now, I wouldn't want to be in a leader position, especially the way the world is today. Keep that in mind, because there's a lot of angry people in this community. Okay, I've lived on Sanford all my life. From the time I was a child, my father said to me, when I started building my home, I nailed every nail that I have a house that I'm still in with me. I put that roof on. I put the windows in at 21 years old. Me and my dad did their plumbing. My brother-in-law did the electrical. We put blood, sweat, and tears in these homes. I'm now retired. I can't afford your cess. My husband, if he died tomorrow, I'd be gone out of that home. Now come on, we are all human in this room. I want to shake that young lady's hand up there that voted against you. I don't want a cop coming up and pulling me away because I approached you. We are all from God above, and not one of us is better just because I know some of you are millionaires, because my sister is friends with one of your wives. So guess what? So I won't take up the 2 minutes, but it's funny, you always give us the time at every one of your meetings, but we're not allowed to say crap when you're talking. Remember, you are one of us. You don't shit any different than we do.
Is there any other public comment?
Yeah.
You've already talked. No second session. What's that? No.
I spoke earlier about my bar, now I'm speaking about my property on Seaport.
It's one time speaking.
Mayor, today that they're spending all this money to put in this new dam. I see the concrete jungle that big. I don't know why we didn't go back to the renewable energy that this government of today is pushing. There's no reason why we couldn't generate power on that dam. That's right. None. That power takes people's money. 40 years of generating power out of the dam. But you're not a whole lot of money.
Take the word. Let's make some power, eh? Make some real money. Not take everybody's money.
Any other public comments?
I feel.
Mark, no, you've already done it once. Oh, Joel, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Joel Berger, I live on Seaport Township. I'm the Seaport Township Supervisor. As I'm hearing all the comments and feeling the emotion and feeling the energy, I think there's a real opportunity here that we need to look at. Everybody's been asking that Four Lakes and commissioners and people in the community work together with our legislators, both at the state and federal level, right? And a lot of that is going on. And I can personally speak to that because I've done a lot of it and will continue to. But what I'm going to ask people to do, it's going to be very frustrating tonight, tomorrow, the next few days, whatever, when we get home. Some are Four Lakes coming back. Many are Four Lakes coming back, but many are not for the costs that are sitting in front of us. Okay? And believe me, I get that. I have that too. I just we have myself. But what's really important is we are going to have opportunities. I've been working with Mike Holdley and Bill Schutte to create a special assessment deferment program to help the people over 65 that are going to be in a difficult situation. And also to help the people that are disabled. So as this moves through the process, the bills were read last week. Okay, they're going to committee. Through the Restore the Lakes group, which is a communications group to help legislate the process, I'm going to be putting the call out to have people send in letters of support for that process. And the same will need to occur as we work with the federal legislative people, with our senators and congressmen. There will be times for this energy, for people to get involved, and through the grace of God. Hopefully we'll get those grants.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Hello, my name is Kelly Shaller. I live on Wexton Lake. I've lived here the past 2 years, but I've had property here for over 40. My family has. And I'm kind of amazed at, number one, your conduct and how you have voted before you had public comments, which was really nice, I have to say. And that some of you on this board were on the lakes and thus benefited from this and should have recused yourselves, which you didn't. I cannot fathom why this things just continue to just roll downhill. We have so many people here today who will probably not be here in the next 5 years. You understand that? You will be taxed out. And I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to these people. These people don't deserve this. If we need to restore the dams, which we want to, everyone needs to pay just like everybody else. And it would be $25 for everyone versus $2,500, which is ridiculous. I hope you've had your fun.
Before we get to public comment, seeing no other public comment,
I got something to say.
Okay.
God, before I even get out of here back there, is that mine? You can. Go down.
Good evening. It's not been a pleasure to be here. I just got here from Texas. I came up here to find my son and his new bride and to establish a homestead. I rented a home to figure out a business where I wanted to be. You guys sealed my fate for me. This is not a fair opportunity for anybody around here. I don't know Michigan politics, I know Texas politics. And this would not stand in my county back home. You guys should be ashamed of what you've done. You finally called a meeting where you got a crowd and you wouldn't let them speak. My son is named Brett Cotton, right there with his wife. He was raised to do what he's doing. He's standing up for his rights. And there should be more people his age doing it. And there are a few of them here. I can't see well, so I can't tell how old these people are. But I am shocked at the way you guys run your business here in this county. If you guys are representing that, it's not right. These people who have this house is on the lake. My father owns a house in Texas on a lake. And he would have to sell the house if he was in his position, getting assessed what you guys are assessing for someone else's favor. None of these people in here had anything to do with the dam falling apart, but you're making them foot the bill. Why is the county not putting this out for all residents or make that lake private? These people are paying for the lake, they ought to be managing the lake. If you're gonna let the whole county come to the lake, then the county should give you your money. Either the county pays or the residents, county-wide. That's what I got to say about this whole situation.
Any other public comment? Yes, please.
Gary Booth, Western Lake. I'd like to say I disagree with the way Warwick Task Force has done all of this. They're unfair the way they're doing it. And the way they've run the whole show has been, put your neighbor against your neighbor. That's what we need. But I'll tell you what, I'm ashamed of all you people up there because you went along with it. Never did it. You never questioned nothing. These guys walk on the water for you. Yeah. I'm ashamed of you. All of you.
I'm late in here. I've heard a lot about what's going on here. The issue I have with this whole thing.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Dana Dreyer. I'm addressing it for my mother, Beverly Dreyer. We have property on Venus. The issue I have with this whole thing is this started way back when Boyce wasn't following the state and government rules. So there, the DNR steps in, and the state and the federal steps in, and cuts Boyce's gates down, says he's got to close the gate for the generating plant, which was designed to get rid of water. So when they shut that down, they had already started their own problem. We as the people did not start that problem, they did. So therefore, who's really at fault? Who should be paying for this? It shouldn't be the public people paying for this. Boyce is responsible, DNR is responsible, the state of Michigan is responsible, and the federal government is responsible. That's what led to the catastrophe of the flood damage. It wasn't us people doing it. It was the people who think they got all this power stepping in and saying, we're shutting this down, we're shutting this down, without doing any search about what's going to happen when you shut down a big gate to slow down the water to where when we get into a problem, they try to open that gate, the chain breaks. Now whose fault's that? That's the government, because the government didn't want Boyce open no more because he wasn't complying to their rules. That's not our problem, once again. That is all four of their problems. All four of their people who were involved were saying, raise the water back up for it because the DNR said we can't lose our zebra mussels. Oh, well, that should not affect us. You coming and telling us we need to pay for this because we live on the lake.
Thank you. You're over 2 minutes, so thank you. Anyone heard? Any other public comment?
That's all it is.
Any other public comment? Public comment? No more public comment? I do feel I have to say something at this point. It wasn't a question and answer, but I want, there's not many people left here, but we do care. And you may not believe we care. We're working every day to try to get more money. We're not quitting now, we're not quitting tomorrow when this is approved. We're gonna fight for you guys. This is a way to get this thing moving forward. We're doing our best. And so I want you to know everybody there cares. And we're not gonna quit working. So you can reach out to your state reps, your senators, you can reach out to the federal government, just like the gentleman said earlier. Contact those people. It would be so easy for us if all this money was given to us. It's safe, it's money that we don't have to take the big for you guys. We're not having Chief, well, thank you. We're doing the same. We're not quitting. The more they hear, the better it's going to be. So just so you know, we care. We do care. And with public comment being done, I would recommend now take a motion to adjourn. Do we have support? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The same thing for those opposed. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you everybody for coming. We will continue to work for you.